question.
So, what do you think? Can we know something about God apart from the Bible?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely.
You can see, I mean, first of all, the people in the Bible learned about God without the Bible.
Yeah.
So I think they had some other kind of divine intervention of some kind where they learned about things about God without the Bible being there.
Right. Well, I mean,
the Bible was put together. I mean, like that was a thing that was done by the early church over like a period of 400 years or so. So
Yeah.
I mean, like during that entire period, which a lot of people, which we put a lot of faith in, were present. But we certainly seem to think that they knew about God
yeah.
And hermeneutics.
and whatever
Yeah,
else.
I mean, the process
Or whatever.
of God revealing the Bible to us took a whole lot longer than 400 years.
Right.
And the Bible that we had today isn't really necessarily what the Bible of the ancients had.
Right.
I mean,
You
King
gotta look those
David,
up.
when he read the Bible, he wasn't written books about David that were later written by Isaiah.
Yeah.
He was reading Enoch, Jubilees, Jasher, books that aren't necessarily authoritative today
Yeah.
because we don't have this accurate record of transmission. When David learned about God, he learned about God because he was a prophet, and he learned about God because of things that were written that we don't have access to today.
And he
But-
he experienced it firsthand. He talked with God. He walked with God. God intervened in his life, and
Wrote
then
about God
he
from
wrote
the
about
Torah.
God.
But
What's
for
that?
Read
us,
about God from
read
being a
about
Jew.
God from the Torah.
definitely read about God from the Torah.
That
But
was
if
quite a
we
bit.
were to learn about God authoritatively, I mean, we're all Christians here. We all believe in the books of the Bible as
Some-
authoritative,
Some more books than others.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Catholic, so our Bible is a little bit different.
bigger.
I mean, yeah, it hasn't had the certain books removed, but other than that, I mean, it's the same.
Got some problems with James.
We've got some
Sorry,
problems with James.
sorry, bad joke.
Luther would agree with you.
Oh, thank you, Luther.
Problems in terms of you don't necessarily believe it or you don't think you understand it or
Oh, James is the book I've studied most.
uh-huh.
It is because I don't get it and it's weird.
Don't
I
understand.
I don't
Don't
necess-
understand.
I don't understand it. Is the proper term I think in this case.
Not yeah, because he was asking whether or not you think the Bible is authoritative in general.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
James would therefore be authoritative. You just don't understand it.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
My disagreements tend to be things I don't understand, and I just go, oh.
Right. Yeah, I would definitely agree that there's a lot about the Bible that I don't understand either.
Yeah.
And I definitely understand the tendency to not understand something and therefore wonder why, oh why did the ancient church put this in the Bible?
Right.
You know, for me,
Why they didn't put other things also.
and why they didn't put other things also. For me, the big question is about Esther. And why is Esther in the Bible
I got that one.
when God is never mentioned except for in your Bible, where in the additions to Esther, God is mentioned. So that wouldn't be a problem for you.
but it is. But
It is a problem for me.
That's fair.
Because Esther's in the line. Anyway, sorry.
So what's your answer to that? Come on. That's just in the line of what?
Esther's,
In the line of Jesus, or
yeah.
what do you mean?
Line of Jesus.
Okay, yeah. But we don't have
Something
books about
wrong about
literally.
that.
Do we have
Well,
books about
there are a
literally
lot of
everyone?
people who are in the line of
Yeah, I was
Jesus
gonna
that
say,
we don't
it's-
necessarily have.
Books of the Bible.
A book
about. I mean, unless I'm wrong.
That's
like,
fair.
Off. Is it just
No,
like straight
that's
up Abraham?
fair.
Yeah.
Well, no, it talks about.
Yeah. So I mean,
I'm not saying that I think Esther should be removed from the Bible. I'm just saying I don't understand why the ancient church said,
Well, this book should
Woohoo!
be. Yeah.
yeah.
unless it was like a girl power, we need to excite the women in the church type of thing.
I kind of doubt that. Just
Just, you don't think there was an ancient women's lib movement that...
you know, women's lib is kind of a new thing.
I know historically.
The term.
This is a
not
new
not
thing,
that women
right.
should be The term women's lib is fairly a new thing. I don't know.
But the ancient mystical movements certainly had a huge feminine vibe to them. If you look at Jewish mysticism, you had the Baal, which is condemned in the Bible as a false god. You also had the false god, the Shekinah and the Lilith, the two feminine deities of Jewish mysticism that, have strong girl power vibe to them.
Sorry, saying girls are eating. I'm sorry. Anyway, let's pull back to whether the scriptures are authoritative and whether you can learn about God outside the scriptures or not.
Well, I think that's all part of the discussion, because can you learn about God from apocryphal and pseudepigraphical documents?
Can you define those words for our people on camera?
Okay,
don't know what that
secret. Pseudepigraphal means that we don't actually. They're written under a different name, like the book of Baruch, or in like most of the books of the Gospels, for example, are probably pseudepigraphal.
Right.
Which means that just means that the author isn't who they were claiming to be, right? I mean, they're writing under a false name.
Right. Well, the technical definitions would be, like you said, the apocryphal means that their meaning is hidden from us.
Yeah.
Pseudepigraphical would mean these books have been historically denied as authoritative by the Orthodox Church. Cool. So the historical Catholic Church would say, don't read these books. Again, the modern Catholic Church would
say don't read these books because they're. At least I've got a collection of Jehovah's Witness literature at my house that I put Ordo Heretica stickers on because they're pretty bad.
Heretica stickers.
That's
pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'd like to get some Heretica stickers.
Yeah,
or like a Heretica stamp that I could just.
That'd be bad.
That'd be good. Yeah, it's like nope. Yeah, because the thing is, especially I was holding them around for a while, I was thinking, some of the way these things are written could be damaging to people, if you read these things and you didn't realize that they're not.
And when we're talking about can we learn about God, you kind of have to talk about heretical documents, because these are people that are trying to teach us things about God that are wrong. Mm-hmm. And they're not part of the Bible, and they should be rejected. I think we can all agree that Gospel of Mary, heretical, don't read it. Gospel of Peter, heretical, don't read it. Gospel of Thomas, you would probably say.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't actually read all of those, all three of those. I haven't. Right. In fact, I don't think I've read any of those. I've read the Gospel of Thomas is not in the Catholic Bible, but I don't know.
Well, I think there's a certain value to learning about
other
the historical understanding of God.
Yeah.
In the Christian community from apocryphal and pseudepigraphical books, because in a certain sense these books were works of fiction produced sometimes by heretics and sometimes I think by ancient Christians who are just trying to tell a good story about God. I think a good example of that would be like 3rd and 4th Esdras, which weren't necessarily teaching any lies about God, but I think were probably historical fiction.
Those are included in the Orthodox Bible, I believe.
Right, and so Greek Orthodox would probably be getting mad at me right about now.
But yeah, but in any case, I think that it is correct to say that when you try and learn about God, you risk learning wrong things about God.
When you're not reading the Bible.
I think that it is also true to say when you're not reading the Bible, and you try to learn about God, that you would learn that you can learn falsehoods.
Sure.
So we still have the question of whether you can also learn true things, and whether reading the Bible gives you any guarantee of learning truer things than other methods.
In Romans 1:20, the Apostle Paul says, "For the invisible things of Him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even His eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart were darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of God, the glory of the incorruptible God, into an image made like corruptible man and birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. And yet, there's this idea that the invisible qualities of God are known to us, so that we can know things about God apart from the Bible.
Through creation, yeah.
Through creation, through our experiences. But to what extent can we trust those experiences as being reliable? You know, because there's that risk identified in the passage that we corrupt our idea about God because we're not basing it in the Bible or in the Orthodox tradition of what the church fathers have taught us about God and what's been passed down.
That's fair.
And when we talk about having experiences, spiritual experiences in a void apart from the biblical revelation, I've always been very skeptical about my ability to accurately discern something about God if I can't confirm it with the Bible. What do you guys think about having an experience apart from the Bible that you can trust?
Well, I personally doubt most of my experiences in life in some way or another. Like, I am 99% sure things that I've experienced are true. But I have woken up from dreams before and realized later that they weren't.
Right, because our experiences can trick us.
Right, exactly. And I've seen illusions. Anyone who hasn't seen an illusion, look up illusions, and you'll clearly your perceptions can be wrong.
I've had hallucinations where it was just, you know, I was very dehydrated, I was very tired, and I swore I saw a tent. And my hunting buddy goes, are you going to die? Because you don't look too good, and there's no tent over there. But it's just, in my mind, I really saw that tent. Yeah. It was an experience that I had, and to this day, in my memory, I can see that tent, you know, with its blue lining, and the detail was so crystal clear in my mind. That experience was real to me.
Absolutely.
And it was absolutely fictional.
But at the same time, on the same token, I have read books which I was wrong about. I have, in fact...
We've interpreted things wrong.
Exactly. So just because it's in the Bible and you read it in the Bible...
doesn't mean that we're interpreting it...
Well, actually, it doesn't mean you're interpreting it right. So just because you read it does not mean that that's what the Bible actually says.
I would absolutely agree with that, because, you know, having read the Bible as much as I have, I've looked at things with certain ideas. You know, I used to believe X about the Bible, and then after reading it so many times, I decided, you know what, I don't believe that anymore, because I've refined my ideas about what I think the Bible's teaching me.
And I've had that exact same experience with my walk with God, without scriptures being involved in those particular things necessarily.
Right, and I would think that if you've never changed your idea about God, then you probably haven't walked with Him very deeply.
Yeah.
Because as we walk with God, as we read the Bible, as we experience things, we change our minds.
Yeah. Or God changes our minds, depending on how you read that, listen to that. Because I have had distinct things. I mean, I definitely done it with the Bible a bunch of times.
Let's see a specific example.
Come back to me. Okay.
For me, an example of misinterpreting the Bible, though, a while ago, a couple years ago, we were talking about maybe living together, and your sister became very distraught, and she said that we must avoid the appearance of evil.
The appearance of evil.
Your sister is not Catholic.
No, Catherine.
Oh yeah, I think you and me.
For the sake of
and then I
privacy.
think Catherine was there also.
There was a girl involved.
Yes,
in the living together situation.
These are going to be published, and so
Okay.
try not to mention names.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
Somebody might
That's
see
fair.
it and go like, "Oh my gosh!"
Oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so we
I've
can-
had other
That's fine.
people get upset.
Yeah. In any case, we were discussing living together. There was a girl involved, and his sister became very distraught. She said that it says in the Bible we must avoid the appearance of evil, and she said that means that we should not ever do anything which society thinks would look immoral.
But then you wouldn't be doing anything because
and we were like,
no
well,
matter what you do, somebody's going to say that's wrong.
Well, and more important, well, she's like, no, society in general. You shouldn't do things that people in general would think that looks bad. That makes you look like you're a bad person. I was like, you probably shouldn't hang around the poor. You probably shouldn't, So we had a brief discussion about the kinds of things that you shouldn't do, and how I felt like, that's really what being Christian is about, is doing these
the things that culture doesn't think are that great,
but which are nonetheless truly right. And I think Jesus does a lot of that. Just a lot of things that the church at his time, the Jewish church, thought he was doing evil on the basis of just hearing about what he was doing, when really what he was doing was good. I mean, he's talking with prostitutes. He's talking with the destitute, poor, lepers, and he's associating with a lot of unclean, in Jewish tradition, people.
And if Jesus is a bad example, you're reading the Bible wrong.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So, I mean, but in any case, the point was, so we had this discussion, and I think that idea is wrong. And she got that idea from reading the Bible. She got that idea, I believe it's in Romans.
Romans, yeah.
Yeah,
Romans
so-
15, I believe.
So,
if you want.
It's
Do you want
fine.
to say it?
So, I mean, she's not a uneducated person in terms of biblical scholarship.
Yeah, she studies more than a lot of preachers do.
So I think you can definitely come to know wrong things about God, or at least about morality, from reading the Bible. That's a thought.
Right.
Yeah, do you have an example yet?
I got this. The scriptures in 2 Timothy 3:16 definitely describe how the scriptures are very useful for. I'm totally off base on that. I totally changed subjects.
I mean, all right. Go ahead.
So it says, all scriptures is given in inspiration of God, and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, so that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. This is King James. Apologies for the wording. But so basically, one of the things that is a really big point that I think a lot of people miss about the scriptures is that the scriptures is definitely for teaching you about what Christianity is about. Like that
Absolutely.
is a huge thing that the Bible is.
Mm-hmm. But in terms of
But you can study the
learning
scriptures.
authoritatively apart from the Bible, I think,
Right.
Paul makes the case the strongest when he says that the invisible qualities about God have been clearly made manifest.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess my concern is this misinterpretation, all these misunderstandings that we could have, and your counterexample would be the Bible itself could be misunderstood.
Right. So what I was trying to describe
So
is no
our
matter what your
experiences need to
experience
back
is,
up the Bible.
what I was going to say is, my
Yeah,
entire point
that's
on that was, no matter what your experience is, it's possible to misinterpret it to say the wrong thing. Meaning, whether it's the scriptures or your life or anything like that, you need to basically you need to be in a church and talk to people and see make sure that what you believe is actually backed up by scriptures, by proper doctrine, has actual backing. If you believe something completely off base, especially if you don't have a very strong belief set, you may want to question it a little bit.
Yeah, and I think the Bible itself would make a very strong case for the importance of discipleship, the importance of older, more mature believers.
Taking youngers under their wing.
Even if they're difference age, younger, older. If the younger person has more experience, more Bible discipline, they can teach older men who don't have that same biblical background in the faith. Mm-hmm. It's this mutual encouragement that, as Proverbs says, iron sharpens iron. You sharpen me, I sharpen you, we sharpen each other. But apart from each other, in isolation, we can get deceived.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were asking me a second ago about a personal experience where I learned something about God?
Yes.
Okay. An example of a personal experience that I learned about God without the scriptures being involved in it. Those are fairly rare and far between, other than experiencing God, like going out and praying, but those aren't usually, you don't usually have, I don't usually personally have too much direct revelation that I trust on that. However, there was philosophical discussions that we've done. Mm-hmm. Those are, I believe that God is truthful, and I believe that there's a very strong argument that He is truth. So learning things about reality that are true are very in line with God, with learning things about God. So we talked about how we've looked at arguments about reality and how we exist, and I'm pretty sure you can completely and absolutely prove that something exists, and I think that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Cool.
And there's a fairly high probability that something would be called God. So there's one thing that I learned about God outside of the scriptures. Another one, I was praying one day while walking on the beach, and I was just kind of talking to God because I didn't really have anything in mind. I was just chatting, and I went, and I came to the realization that you can learn anything in any situation. And that was my revelation of that day. It was a really big deal to me. I was like 15 or something. But that, I guess it's more about, that's more of a learn about life thing. I feel like God taught me that you can learn anything in any situation. Like
That's pretty
sure.
cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's
that was
true
relevant
about
though.
God,
But if you can learn anything in any situation, then that would...
Sorry, you can learn something in every situation.
You learn something in every situation. Okay, that is very different.
Are there any final thoughts, anything that you'd like to summarize your position with, Frederick?
Yeah, so I'm just looking up, I'm trying to look, in the book of Sirach, there's when Paul is writing in Romans, that's that section that you're quoting. He's pretty much quoting from the book of Sirach, a section about how through creation God is revealed to us, and that when we turn from creation and create idols of various kinds, that these are abominations. And I'm trying to find that section, and I haven't quite got there yet, so I'm just going to let it go, I think, for now. But good for reading. Another quote.
Well, we never really came to a conclusion of what you think about this. Sorry, I jumped around a bit back there. I apologize.
Again, I think I'll stick with my original position that, we can have experiences about God outside of the Bible. We can learn things. For me, I'm just a skeptic through and through when I don't think I can back it up with the Bible. And I don't trust myself as much as I trust my interpretation of the Bible. Again, with the qualification that my interpretation changes. And I am open to interpreting things wrong, and I believe that when I die and I meet Jesus, God will say, yeah, you did great, but
we're not wrong.
You were wrong here, but
sure,
you're welcome into the family. And, when it just comes to teaching things authoritatively about God, I just try not to do it when it's outside the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, And so two parts that just occurred to me. So first of all, I think one of the big reasons why I'm Catholic and why in Catholicism the church is intended to exist is because we can't really know what's right about God, about morality, and so we're given assurance that the guidance of the church on these sorts of important moral issues and salvation will be correct. And so that's, I guess, one method of knowing, one method of testing things is to compare them to what the church. I mean, just for you guys, maybe that's a different body or whatever. But to compare our beliefs, have them tested by whoever God has appointed for that position.